All right, so this is DJ Catsanova here at the Bootleg Theater in Los Angeles, and I am here with my friend Pink Sock. So where did you get the name Pink Sock from?
It was from a song I wrote where it's called Pink Sock, and it's off the first album. A lot of people don't know that track. It's the last song, and it's about I created a fake fiance that left me, and the way I would find out is I get home in our apartment, and everything's gone except she dropped one pink sock in the move. Like, if you saw a photo of like a linoleum floor with just one pink sock on it, I'd be like, that's an interesting kind of image. Probably one of my favorite bands is Steely Dan. I admire bands that have maybe horribly distasteful names that they can maybe rebrand and give it a new life that's not so middle school. Well, it's like, I think Steely Dan's the one I go for. A band, I'm not necessarily into them, but Pearl Jam is another with a very taste. I'm not into that band at all, but they do have a disgusting name when you really.
Yeah, it was like, it's not my.
I feel like the way band names work is like it's dumb until you like the band, and then it's tight.
Yeah, you try to find ways to like no, this name's a really good name.
I love Unknown Mortal Orchestra, but I hate saying Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
I actually really love. I'm going to see him in December.
Dude, he's amazing.
Santa Cruz.
That guy shreds, dude.
Yeah,
he's seen it at the Rio or the Crepe. No, the Rio or the Catalyst, maybe?
The Catalyst.
Catalyst, great spot.
How old are you? I know.
28.
28? I was right. I knew you were 20. I was like, he's probably like late 20s at the most. I was like, maybe like 27, 26-ish.
Yeah, no, it's...
And where are you from?
I'm from Santa Monica, California.
Santa Monica,
which is, you've probably seen our famous pier sign in most...
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes, exactly. In Grand Theft Auto, you can totally go to my house
and kill
and
people
you can do whatever you want. The game lets you do a lot of fun things,
So is Pink Sock a solo project, or is it like you in a band?
I like to kind of use Sade as a reference. So it's like, I'm Pink Sock, but my band is also Pink Sock.
Sade is
and
my
Sade,
favorite artist.
Oh, dude,
Sade Adu. Helen full of Sade
Dude,
Adu.
Sade is one of the greatest. Oh, my God.
I would have worn my shirt today.
I
wore my pink
had
jeans.
I wish I
Pink
had
Sock.
one so I could be wearing a Sade shirt. So
I was going to wear it.
So I could just point and be like, my girl. But I still record everything myself. But they are deeply influential, and I find myself on like new songs, like kind of like "Stay In Tonight." Kind of sounds like we play it live because I've been playing with these guys so long that I'm now getting influenced by their style because they really do add a lot. They add so much to all the songs.
How many instruments do you play?
I'm probably the most proficient at guitar. I can fake being a piano player as long as it's like I'm using a program. And I can play bass, but I'm the least funky bassist alive. I don't know what it is, but I can play like a funky bass line on synth. But when I pick up a bass, I'm just like, hey, fellas, how's it going? I don't know. It's just like I lose all the booty.
What about drums?
Drums, I'd really love to play drums, but it's one of those things. When I play drums, I have to look. Whatever extremity I want to use, I have to look at. So I'm like, snare, like right arm,
play foot,
hi-hat. Oh boy, wrong hi-hat foot. Okay, kick drum. And when I start thinking about doing a kick, then I'm like, oh my God, I have arms? I don't know. The thing about guitar is like, I think I really started playing seriously when I was like 12, like 11, 12. And then I was like playing like Green Day and shit like that. And then, the older you get, you just don't even realize it, but you got good enough that you can sing while doing it. It doesn't just like, at least for me, it didn't all just come at once. It was like, by the time I realized I was a decent guitarist, and I was like, oh, maybe it's now time to start worrying about singing. And I was like, this is fucking hard. So then I listened to a lot of like Patsy Cline old country music, and I kind of emulated that, like, because I found that was my range. So then I was like, okay, start with country music because it's the simplest. And like when I say country, I know that there's people think but I'm like, I'm talking 50s, 40s to 50s. Once you hit the 60s, it's like, no thank, I'm all right, But like those songs are also great, love songs that tell a story, and I think I probably stole that idea. I mean, I don't think that's a new idea, a love song and a story, but that's I think where I started realizing it. And I didn't want to make country music, and R&B also allows you to kind of do that.
Who were your biggest influence? So when you started learning to play guitar, like, was it like your dad that played? Or
so my dad's he's a professional musician, actually.
Oh, so there you go.
But I'd say the thing is he's actually a country musician. He's an amazing pedal steel guitarist, and it's one of those things that when you're just too close to it. Like now I like it, but like when you're growing up and you're a middle schooler, you're a fucking prick. Yeah, and I was a prick, just like all other 13-year-old boys out there, and I think the first thing that really sparked my guitar interest was Weezer. Like back in the day, before they became some weird thing that you're embarrassed to admit you love. I'm like, well, it's like nowadays they just like, he's doing like covers of Toto, and you're like, what are you know?
You didn't like that?
Oh no. I honestly, the thing about that is I just don't like that Toto song. Like that just one, and I was like, I could do a whole interview on why Weezer is not as good to me as they were. But back in the day, a big Beatles fan growing up, but I would say the most important bands for me were Radiohead, Stevie Wonder, Roxy Music.
Roxy Music, right? More than this.
Dude,
favorite
that album,
road song,
I was going to say, that album is
song.
my favorite. My mom listened to that every day when I was growing up, and I think that's, like, she would, like, clean the house and play Avalon, and I was just like...
Avalon's also a great song.
And I just... Oh, dude, that whole album... my favorite one on that is... I think it's called True to Life, and it's the one near the end where he goes... And I was just... I don't know why that always, like... It's one of those albums that, like... I didn't listen to it for 10 years because, like, when my mom listened to it when I was growing up, and then when I went to college, I stole my parents' records. It's like, oh, I remember this, and I knew all the words. It was such a weird feeling, but I think I've always liked lots of reverb on vocals and romantic singing. I don't know. I feel like that's... Like, I think that's what I love about Stevie Wonder is, like, the man can get really sexy. And that girl, oh my God, that girl, holy shit. I mean, I can once again talk all day about Stevie Wonder.
Stevie's good too. My Cherie Amour.
Oh, dude.
Is My Cherie? No, what's the song that was in, what's this movie?
Silver Linings Playbook?
Yes.
It was My Cherie.
Oh, okay, it was?
And it's one of those things where you're like, damn, dude, that song is powerful enough that I think that if you had experienced something horrible through it, it would trigger some horrible PTSD. Like, for sure.
Seriously.
It would definitely, if you have, like, any mental disorders, it would spring from that song being heard.
I really love that movie, and that song, because of that movie, like, really heightened it, too.
And, oh, my God, Stevie's the best. Holy shit.
So, your songs, where do you get the influences to write the songs? Is it from real-life experiences, or is it, like, stuff that you come along with?
Some of them are. I would say the funnier ones are more real life experience, but what's funny to me might not be funny to everyone else. I know which ones are the most based on my own life, and it's West Side Girl, and that song Hey, and Got It Going On. I would say really good. Yeah, I would say it's more on the cynical side.
I thought that it would be like Cassandra and Katie.
Oh, dude! Like, the funniest about that album, the girl that I love that you know that shit. That's one of my favorite.
Like, homework.
Some of the earlier songs, I was working at a cafe, and my friend Carrie would come over, and he would. He's just a really good guy to bounce ideas off of, and I was like, I want to write an album just full of girls' names, but like no girls I know. One of my best friends, his girlfriend, she's also one of my best friends, but. They were at my house, and she was like, Max, how come you don't ever write me a song? And he's like, come on, I don't want it. And I was like, I'll write you one. And I think I just wrote it like right then and there.
Was that Cassandra?
Alyssa. That was Alyssa.
Oh, Alyssa.
Okay. Alyssa, don't you know that I miss you, girl? Any song where I say girl a lot in it, that's more Juliet. Yeah, I just find it's a good placement for things. But West Side Girl is about if you're really paying attention, you'll know exactly what part of town I'm singing about. The Promenade, 3rd Street Promenade. And any Santa Monica heads out there, you'll laugh. But it's I Meet a Girl on the Promenade, which is very touristy. It's right near the pier sign. It's very like horror. It's a place you'd never want to meet anybody. But I think I was like, oh, that's a funny place. You maybe would meet somebody. And then the thing about Santa Monicans is Santa Monica, West LA is kind of in a, for lack of a better term, freeway prison. You're surrounded by a wall of freeways, and it kind of outlines your city. And the premise of that song is I meet a girl who lives past the like I'd have to take the freeway. And it's like, to me, a Santa Monican, for me to go on the 405, are you crazy?
That's like in the Bay. If you live in San Francisco, going to Oakland.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you live in Oakland?
You're like,
fucking
exactly.
going over there.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you're real. It's like, so that song is like, why can't you be my Western girl, my Santa Monica Pearl?
Yeah,
and it's like, because she lives in K-Town. She lives in like Highland Park. It's like, and then, hey, I worked in a coffee shop for years, and that song is just about like yoga moms. I think the term might be MILF. I don't know necessarily.
It's coming in, it's like, how do you like your latte?
Yeah, and I remember it was just one of those things where, like, I think that it's a very dumb guy idea that you'll be at your like service job and you're like, oh, hot lady came in. It's just one of those things where you're like, bro, just serve the nice woman a coffee and, don't fuck with her kind of thing. Let her, she's just doing her day.
Yeah.
But in that, I was like, in these Pink Sock universes, it's,
they became songs.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, well, what if it worked? And it's like, those are the
like,
more
hey,
personal. My favorite song is Drunk Sex out of all the ones I've written. And that one I always pictured was be like, long pull like from the bar to me, just kind of creepily staring, like the barfly kind of vibes. But all these songs I think I probably write them as videos. I'm a musician, but I think for story I'm more visual. And as I think we were talking earlier about sketch comedy, and it's like you set the scene, like you have to set the scene as quickly as possible and start the plot going. And it's like great music videos also do that.
Like Circular Motion, which is
that was filmed on a soundstage, so we control our background.
It'll a little bit. So how much longer before it comes out?
I would say probably mid-December, maybe early January.
All right.
Maybe we'll put it out right before Christmas, give some people a nice...
to put in their pink socks.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. We're going to put that album out, I think, early next year.
Is it going to be on vinyl?
I want to, because I know I want
pink vinyl.
Well, what I want to do, I think we might. We did it for our cassettes, but I made like a quote unquote greatest hits.
I saw that. Who were your biggest influences in music?
I'd say Tom York. Vocally, that always just see it like melodically. It's like, don't do the easy thing. There's always a cool melody you can do. This band had a lot of different what's up, dude? A lot of different guitarists in it, but Thin Lizzy was a huge influence because I just love guitar solos. And then Marvin Gaye, probably.
Gaye?
I think
I thought
Marvin.
you were gonna say Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I think about Stevie Wonder. He's too specific. Like Stevie's too Stevie to try to be Stevie.
Oh.
It's like I think Marvin Gaye though. I didn't really pay attention to singing until Marvin Gaye. I love Stevie Wonder, and I listen to him as much as I fucking can because it's like, oh my God, there's songs in the key of life. First time I heard that, it blew my, like, I think Ebony Eyes, I don't know why, but that's just one of my favorites, and it's like a very non-Stevie song.
Stevie has a wide range of music as well.
That whole album is one of those where, like, if you don't like a song, just keep listening to it, and you'll understand why he put it on the album.
Yeah, Stevie, I really like Stevie a lot. So this is a weird question, like outside of music, but then I'll some way find a way to merge it in there. Yeah. If you could choose one, would you change something from your past or take a glimpse into your future in 5 years?
If I knew my life was only going to be 5 more years long, I would take that one. I try not to live with regret because it's one of those things, like, definitely I think everyone has regret, but it's kind of pointless. You can't really do anything about it. If anything, all the things I fucked up doing helped me in the end, and I think that it's important to fail. What I would change in my past is I would tell my parents to take 3-year-old me to gospel church so I could learn how to play piano the right way.
You know what? I think I would do that. I would tell my parents to teach me how to play any instrument.
Force me. Not even teach. Just be like, I know I'm going to fight it.
Whip me, tie me to a chair.
Oh, dude. If you I get into some nerdy shit, but there's this musician, Corey Henry, who's just an amazing organist. He plays futurist. I mean, he's a huge Stevie fan, but he really shreds it on all key instruments. But I think the most powerful thing he does is he plays amazing church music, like gospel, like just solo organ, and the kind of thing where like the pastor follows him kind of thing, because he's just so evocative. And when you see that kind of power, it's like, and that kind of you see somebody just playing an instrument and you're like, that's when they're the most comfortable. Like, as much as I love playing guitar, I'm always slightly worried I might hit the wrong note. Singing I'm totally down with. It's like I have a good time doing that, but like to just be on an instrument and be able to do exactly what you're thinking, I wish I had a lifetime with an instrument just so I could
Like,
have that
master it as much as
extreme
possible.
comfort where it's like, then it's not about your playing, it's about your creativity.
Yeah.
You know, it's
All
like,
right.
I think the hardest thing in the world is matching your abilities with your taste. And I think that your taste should always be going up, but I think at a certain point, you kind of get at least significantly close to your taste and your abilities. You should always, I think, be 5 whatever this, distance is, 5 whatevers away from your taste.
Yeah.
So you're always striving towards something. You should never be comfortable. I think
Yeah,
that's all life. It's like you don't want to be cooking the same meal for 20 years. You want to like, hey, maybe I'm going to learn how to make jumbo now,
So now, last question.
Yeah.
This is the most important
All
question
right.
of all of them. Michael Jackson or Prince?
Prince,
Oh.
all the way. All the way.
I think everybody that I've interviewed so far.
And here's the thing. I'll tell you this. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But even pre Michael Jackson documentary, I would have said Prince. The thing about Michael Jackson, like as a child, I loved him, but I think, and I don't want to say, I'm not saying anything, but I think that it might be more for children than Prince's music is. Which is a hard, it's not a connotation.
I get what you mean.
And it's, as a child, I didn't really understand why Prince was important. But then Prince harnesses the pure power of sexuality, and I think that's,
as you do.
and
good sir.
I think that that's the one thing that I try to do in every single song is it's like, if you're on a date, would this ruin your date or make your date better? And I want to be your wingman. That's all I want to do. And I think Prince, he was braggadocious in a way
Very
that
much.
was so almost comical that it's relatable. I think people relate to, like, if he was like looked like Brad Pitt, I don't think it would have worked because it'd be like too arrogant. But it's like this dude's like what, 4'11". It comes out with like a few little chest hairs and like his little mustache.
Good.
No, but he's amazing.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
comes out there and I think he proves his sexiness through his, like, if you saw, like, if Prince wasn't Prince, like if you just saw that if you just saw him at Whole Foods, like, would you be like, oh, this is the sexiest fucking dude alive? And like you see him playing Darling Nikki, and you're like, this guy, I'd let this guy fuck my brains out. Like, whatever, dude, I'll take it. If I'd be lucky to have had Prince have sex with me. I don't know, and I'm not even looking for that. Like, but
I think Prince is like 4-0 right now.
Oh,
For
yeah.
Anybody I interview, everybody said Prince.
And the thing about Prince is, he was making really cool shit till the end. And but I will say Michael Jackson had some really interesting, like, kind of,
He made Thriller.
he made Thriller. But here's the thing. Okay, let's get even deeper. You wouldn't have Thriller without Quincy Jones, and
True.
Prince produced all his own shit.
That is very true.
All he
and
did,
he played instruments
and he
too.
played all of it. Now, Michael Jackson definitely wrote. I mean, like, he wrote vocally. Like, he would write the whole song and everything. Like, yeah, Off the Wall. I mean, Jackson 5, holy shit. I mean, it is some of the best music of all time. And I think that's why people even, remotely are like, like, if he made bad music, I don't think anyone would be defending anything he did. To me, at a certain point, like 90s Michael Jackson, like, no, I'm thinking of some videos. He had some really sick videos that were pretty influential. Okay, I'm full of shit. Michael Jackson was fucking badass, as much to my chagrin. But I think Prince was more badass, and that guy shreds some sick solos, and Michael Jackson had to call Eddie Van Halen to shred. So, let's throw,
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But maybe life's more about collaboration than I don't know.
You're just doing things
it's-
yourself.
I think for this project, I would have to say Prince is more influential, just because I heard a story once where he, the way he would record is he would have an engineer. She'd be in the studio, and he would walk in, and he's like, "All right, here's my drum machine." He'd set up the beat, the loop. He'd like loop it, and then he would play a loop of a bass line. So his music was pretty advanced in terms of he was just playing like kind of loop-based music. Like, that's Pink Socks, a lot of loops. I find a great verse and I just repeat it twice, and then second verse I'll take something away and add something more, maybe arpeggiate it, maybe add a little more, maybe take some shit out, and then bring it back. There's a lot of tricks you can do, and I think Prince shows how much you can do with one part, and but he would play some shit and then he's like loop it, and then he'd play like 5 guitar parts flawlessly. He's like, all right, sick, we got a solo, we got this shit, and then he would kick her out so he could do the vocals, which to me is like, that means he had to channel some shit that no other human was allowed, like no other human should be allowed to have seen what went on in there. Because he was like, I'm about to fucking take this sexuality out of the atmosphere in some rain dance process. I don't know whatever he was going to do.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, human eyes could not look at it. And then he'd open the door, he's like, all right, mix that shit. And then he'd leave. And I'm like, okay, like that's the dream, right?
Yeah, it is.
You just like bestow your greatness, and then you're like, all right, make it great.
It's done now.
Yeah.
It's already great, but I just need you to tighten it up a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you.
Well, what would you say?
Down.
Who would you?
So, growing up,
Yeah.
my household, very Michael Jackson.
Mhm.
I went to Michael Jackson's house when he died. My mom called me as soon as he died crying.
It was a big, it was a family, it was a family affair.
Yeah. And like, I liked Prince growing up as well, like Purple Rain. But then it wasn't until I moved to the Bay Area is when I found like a whole new love for Prince. I was like, oh my God, Prince is a fucking genius.
He is. And it's, oh my God. Like,
I can't even.
What's
just Purple
What's
Rain
your favorite Prince song?
I Would Die For You.
Ooh, that's a great one. I'm gonna go deep on this one. 17 Days. Do you know that track?
Which album was
I
that?
think it's a B-side to Darling Nikki, or a B-side to
Purple Rain.
I think it's from Purple Rain. It's a B-side though, but it was one of those B-sides that did really well. But it's just a great song where he's singing about like 17 days since this woman like he's had contact with her, and he's like, he's being ghosted, and he's like going to her house in the rain smoking a cigarette. He's like, all I've got is 2 cigarettes and this broken heart of mine.
I do know that song.
So let the rain come down.
I do know that song. I think that is on Purple Rain.
It's probably on the
extended
expanded,
because on that too is Velvet Kitty Cat,
Ooh,
and I really like that
dude,
song.
Bro, fuck, dude,
we could be here talking about Prince all
it's true.
fucking
It's
day.
true. I could really do it. Like, you know, you hear all these stories about him that are so wacky, and to know that he had a sense of humor.
Yeah, that was
you know, it makes you feel like you're like, all right,
Prince was
he seemed like a really cool guy, really cool fucking guy, and I wish I could have him twirl around me one day, but you know, maybe in another life, you know,
maybe another life.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming down.
I'm excited to see you play tonight.
Dude, you're going to get a shout out.
Appreciate it.
You'll get a shout out for staying tonight. How about that?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I appreciate that very much.
Dude, of course, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.